Okay, I have found that a lot of people have problems reading a graph. So we're going to take this one graph and look at a lot of things. First thing I want to look at is the domain. Now, I know people have some problems with this. Just remember, you're looking at what x values have points on this graph. So the x values would be the x-axis, right? Which ones have points on the graph? Well, the first one that has a point associated with it is right here at negative 4.5, but oh my gosh, it has an open circle. Now remember, that means we do not contain that point. It's going up to, but not containing it. So in interval notation, that would be a parentheses. So it starts at negative 4.5, and the domain goes all the way over here, but nothing after this point. So it goes up to 5 and stops, but it does include 5. Now the range would be the y values associated with points in this graph. So I'm looking along the y-axis. And sometimes if you hold a pen, that can help. I see I have a top boundary up here. Let's go down. I have a lower boundary too. Now I'm not even sure if it's touching down there, but I'll go ahead and include it anyway. That looks like negative 1.5. is where it's going to start, and it may or may not include that point. Let's include it just in case. And then it goes up and up and up to here, and that's the last point we have, and that's 4.5. So that's how you can look at a graph and tell your domain and range. Now what if we were asked questions like f of negative 4? Remember, f of x. So that number inside the parentheses is your x. So it's asking what y goes with negative 4 as an x. So here's negative 4. There's the spot on the graph. And the y value associated is 0. F of 0. Okay, when x is 0, here's the point on my graph. And it says to estimate a little bit. Let's see, that's halfway, so about 0.75. The next one, f of 5. Well, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to move the camera. There's the x coordinate 5, so the point associated with it is up here. The y value there is 4.5. F of 4.5. There, and that's the point 2. All right. Now we're going to look at where the graph is positive and where the graph is negative. So f of negative 3. When x is negative 3, this section of the graph, what's the y values there? They're all negative, aren't they? F of negative 0.5. Oh, right here, the graph is positive. The y values over here are positive. Negative 4.1. The graph here is positive. What about over here? These are positives as well. What about f of 3? Is f of 3 greater than 0? No, that's false. F of 3 equals 0. So now let's look at this. Over what intervals is f of x greater than or equal to 0? So it's asking really what x values make my y's greater than or equal to 0. It's talking about the pieces that are above the x-axis. So one way you can do this is maybe mark it on your x-axis. So the part that's positive starts here and goes up to here, starts there and goes to here, and then goes all the way to here. So what x values are those? Well, gosh, we start here at negative 4.5. That's a positive y value. But I can't include negative 4.5 because that point doesn't really exist on the graph. And it goes up to negative 4. Now at negative 4, our y value is 0, so we are going to include that negative 4. Now over here, it's going to start at negative 1. These are positive, so that's okay. That one's equal to 0, so it's okay. These are all positive, so those are okay. So the other section starts at negative 1, goes through 3, which is okay, and goes all the way to 5 and includes that. But what if we said just greater than? So then we don't include, so which points was where it's equal to 0? We don't include negative 4, negative 1, or 3. Okay, so that means we can still start at negative 4.5, so the y values are positive there. We go up to negative 4, but we don't really include it this time. Start back over negative 1, but then we have to stop at 3. Because when x is 3, y actually equals 0. And then we're going to start over again and go all the way to 5. Now when x is 5, the graph is positive. So we can include 5. Over what intervals is f of x less than 0? So in other words, what x values give me this part of the graph? Well, those would be negative 4 to negative 1.